So my story is a little bit different. It's more on the personal side. From a very young age, I was exposed to, my dad introduced me to fly fishing. Okay, and I was fortunate to grow up and learn about fly fishing from a young age. I still remember the day when we went down and we got set up with our first rod and reel. And I was able to do that, a lot of fly fishing up in Idaho. With my brother and my dad and all that stuff. I was about 10 years old. We were fishing on the Salmon River, right outside of Salmon, Idaho, for steelhead. So steelhead, unique in that they transition out of the rivers into the ocean and back, similar to like a salmon. Kind of the very prized fish in that area. I was 10 years old, like I said. It was an awful day on the river. The weather conditions were terrible. It was cold, it was rainy, it was sleeting, not fun to be out there. And really for a lot of part of the morning, I was thinking about bagging it, calling it quits. Actually, my brother, who is an avid fly fisherman and would probably fish 24 hours around the clock if he could, he bagged it, he left. My dad and I decided to, quote unquote, weather the storm and finish out the rest of the float for the rest of the afternoon. Again, cold, rainy, in the fall, up in the mountains. What came of that is I was able to catch my very first steelhead. And so my point of this is, as we go through our challenges as business owners, and a lot of the statistics that Sandy and Jim have mentioned of low unemployment rate, lowest it's ever been in a long, long time, under 4%. Finding those and retaining those quality employees is challenging. Takes extra work. We got to go outside the box. That was what I did, Dave, on the river. I was able to have success. What we want to do is provide you guys a solution. Perhaps it works, maybe it doesn't, but a solution to help you recruit and retain the best, catch the prize, land the best employees, and keep them. We obviously, turnover rates is a high cost for small businesses. We want to provide a solution to help you retain and recruit the best of the best, and quote unquote catch the prize. So. Little bit about Colonial. I've been with Colonial for about 9 years. I think what I gravitated so much to Colonial about was really the educational communication approach that Colonial takes to the marketplace and for employees. We just had a presentation on a unique type of health share plan with questions about deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums. Understanding benefits is a challenge for a lot of us. I mean, if I wasn't in the industry, I would probably still have a challenge understanding benefits. We want to help facilitate that with our benefit counselors to really, truly educate the employees and also help them make the proper decision based off their needs. Everybody's situation is different. So really an educational communication focus. And we fulfill that through our enrollment capabilities. A lot of flexible ways in how we enroll with over 6,500 benefit counselors across the country. I did a lot of benefit counseling when I first got in the industry to understand that piece of the business or the sequence with sitting down with employees one-on-one. And now that doesn't have to be face-to-face. We have capabilities with call centers and that kind of stuff. But really having a one-on-one conversation with those employees to walk them through whether we're talking about medical benefits or the ancillary supplemental benefits that Colonial brings to the table. And really kind of developing a strategy with both the practice administrators, the business owners, to help develop the offerings and the benefits that meets the needs of the group. And really help them have a long-term strategy on new hire approach as you bring on new employees, making sure they understand and know these benefits are available to them, getting them enrolled in the proper amount of time, annual enrollments coming back year after year. So it's really a long-term strategy that we want to invest with you to make sure these benefits are available and everybody has an opportunity to participate. So challenges, we talked a little bit about that. I know Sandy mentioned it, recruiting and retaining the best people. That's a challenge, especially in a low unemployment rate. No direct cost to the practice administrator or the business. These plans are typically offered on a voluntary basis. Okay, so the employee decides if they would like to enroll or not. And they have the opportunity to include their spouse, their children or not. There's a lot of flexibility. So we want to help through our education and our enrollment capacity to help them understand that so they can make the proper decision. And really taking the educational approach. We developed this specifically for the PSMA. Again, another educational piece that you all have access to that provides another avenue for the employees to get a feel for what these plans look like, how they work, et cetera. And so I'm just going to take a few minutes. I'm not going to go through each and every one, but they're embedded images and videos in this postcard. And it really helps as an initial contact point when a group engages with offering these plans to provide this to your employees on the front end. So as we transition into group presentations and the one-on-ones, they have an understanding of really how these plans work. And so they can bring specific questions to the one-on-one counseling sessions and then obviously make an educated decision. Play one of these real quick. They're about a minute each, so very short and simple. Let's see if our technology works here.
A serious illness can have a huge impact on more than just your health. It can also hurt your finances. Any of us could be affected by a critical illness. According to statistics, every 40 seconds, someone in America will have a coronary event. Every 40 seconds, someone in America will have a stroke. Would you have the money to protect all you've worked for if you were to have a heart attack, stroke, or other critical illness? Even if you have health insurance, there are still out-of-pocket expenses. If a critical illness strikes, our insurance can help you maintain your way of life. You'll receive a benefit if you're diagnosed with a covered critical illness. You can use this benefit to help cover everyday living expenses, such as your mortgage or rent payments, groceries, utilities, and child care costs. You can also use the benefit to help pay for other expenses related to your critical illness, such as home modifications, travel expenses, and rehabilitation costs. You may receive additional benefits if you're diagnosed with more than one critical illness, and you can apply for family coverage. You never know when a critical illness may impact your life, but you can help prepare by having a financial safety net in place. Talk with your benefits counselor about how critical illness insurance can help provide valuable financial protection.
So let's talk just a little bit, just have a better understanding of how these benefits really work. I think that hopefully the video helped a little bit. We talked about the benefits being voluntary. So again, no direct cost to the practice itself. These benefits pay the individual directly. So similar to what Sandy talked about on the health share plan, no network, okay? So it doesn't matter where you go. These plans cover you outside the country. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail about the benefits. We can talk offline, but we got to think about, aside from our health insurance, if something were to happen, an injury or sickness, we have other expenses. I know I have other expenses. If I got sick and I could no longer come to conferences like this or meet with clients, I still have a mortgage payment. I have 2 young girls at home, et cetera. So we got to get our arms around that and understand where we have our exposure or risk outside of just the medical bills. Okay, that's a big part of it, of course, but rent, mortgage, utility bills, we still got to have those resources to be able to keep things going. I mean, calling the bank or calling your landlord and saying, you know, I'm going to be short here for a couple months, whatever the case may be. I think you understand that it's important that we need to protect ourselves when it comes to the other expenses that we have or need day to day. Because the benefits do come to you directly, and it's really up to you how you choose to use those benefits. We want to encourage you, obviously, to apply those towards medical bills, but again, the benefits come to you directly, and you can do whatever you want with it. Okay. So I really do. I encourage everybody to access this this postcard for initial education. My contact information, along with my colleague Melissa, is all at the bottom. I know there's contact information in the brochure or the pamphlet, and I have cards out in the booth. But if anywhere, you have all of our stuff here to reach out with specific questions when it comes to really anything related to these additional supplemental benefits. I mean, it's an important an enhancement to maybe what you're already doing, but it's also a way to provide your employees an option to protect what they work so hard for, and that's their wages. We want to have happy and healthy employees in the workplace. Jim touched on it briefly. When you talk about financial stress along with a medical event and medical bills, and getting healthy physically, it can be very difficult to get us, and we want, as practice administrators, to be back and having a happy and healthy workforce as well. Real quick, as far as just a basic kind of process for the practice administrators or the owners of the practice to understand, have initial strategy meeting, talk about specific plans and what makes the most sense, develop an enrollment strategy, how we're going to make sure we have an opportunity to communicate and educate the employees, be efficient as possible, come in, come out. This is going to take weeks and weeks to facilitate. Basic paperwork, schedule group meetings, and then the individual enrollment sessions, and then making sure we have all that post-enrollment data for you and for the practice administrators. So again, a little taste of just kind of what the sequence looks like when it comes to implementing something like this. And lastly, I'll just point out that we're all here as far as providing enhancements at a unique discounted price. We're able to bring benefits to every group member, which are typically offered in much larger groups, 100+ employees, and able to, because of the size of PSMA, bring in plans that were discounted and typically offered to much larger groups to really any size practice. Okay, so I think that's important to point out too.
That's really what it's all about, Evan. I appreciate that. So let's give it up for Evan. We'll take some questions here in a minute. So I've been in this space, not this space, but insurance risk management for most of my career, and always work with large organizations, effectively creating self-insured vehicles. So we set up insurance companies offshore. We set up business strategies to manage litigation, to manage costs, to lower a 44% expense load, administrative load down 8 to 11%, because there's a margin you pick up to give back to your members, constituents, employees, what have you. But it's still a complicated transaction, as you said. It's hard for most people, especially staff members, that they got a million things going on, to figure out the pieces. So the short of the supplemental really is that it's a low-cost way to supplement life that happens, right? And you don't have $12,000 set away, or you don't have the $1,000 even deductible possibly. So affordability, can you just speak to, without pulling out rates and all that, what are we roughly talking about a month for something?
Anywhere from $20 to $40, $50 a month would be a safe range in premiums.
And that would get you a check for what, $5,000 to apply towards an illness or accident, or $3,000?
I showed the critical illness video, and that's even less expensive for an individual plus a spouse for $15,000 of a critical illness policy if you're diagnosed with a heart attack or stroke. It's a $15,000 check. You're looking at $25 a month.
So I'm going to do the math here. So about $300 gets you how much?
$15,000 coverage.
That's pretty good. So I'm not encouraging anybody to get a heart attack after you buy the policy. I'm just saying that's a pretty good return on a very minor investment to protect against a catastrophic illness. Yes, Sandy.
Evan, I was aware of the every 40 seconds somebody has a heart moment, but the 40 seconds is also strokes. That is stunning to me.
Yeah.
Where did you get that number?
The people that put the postcard together.
That's is that a new statistic, Chris? Did you know that number? 40 seconds is stroke?
That surprised me a little, but I'm sure the American Heart Association would have facts.
Yeah. Well, I knew about the 40 seconds for a heart thing, but wow.
That just gives you an idea of how prominent heart disease and all those conditions are really affecting our society, right? And it relates to obesity and all that wonderful fun stuff we have going on. So where are some questions out here for Evan and how that might tie in? And the other thing too is that although this does definitely support the health share plan, which much lower out of pocket, if you're in a traditional commercial plan or an exchange, obviously you can do this as well. And process wise, you're going to work with the office manager, HR, PACS administrator, whatever it might be, and your group would go out and educate, and then you'd work on that from there, right?
Yeah, I think, back to the benefit counselor piece. I mean, 6,500 benefit counselors across the country. You're going to meet with a local benefit counselor year after year. You're going to be able to develop a relationship because you're going to be using local benefit counselors. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's understanding how it works, what it covers, how much it costs, obviously, but most importantly, how do I get paid when something happens? I'm completely comfortable telling you that within 14 business days, you will receive a check from Colonial for a claim filed. I still review claims to this day. It takes me a few minutes to scrub a claim. Getting people paid is what I enjoy most about this business, actually. I broke my hand. I came out of college. I moved to Colorado. I was off the family medical plan. I was uninsured. And I took one last trip to see my brother, went snow skiing, broke my hand. I didn't have any health insurance. Guess who I had to make the tough call to ask for the help? Family. This is going to allow you to not have to do that, perhaps.
Well, fortunately, with our friend Google here, Jillian pulled up. I was going to say that Jillian just pulled it out of the top of her hat, but Center for Disease Control is actually where this came from.
It's good to know. I probably should know that, but
someone
again,
in the
I'm not
United
a big
States,
statistics guy. But
someone in the United States has a stroke every 40 seconds. Every 4 minutes, someone dies of stroke. So these are real. This is CDC. But anyway, any other questions for Evan or thoughts, how it works? Yes, hang on just a second.
Oh, I forgot. You're streaming. I'm so sorry. Effective date. So like once you fill out your paperwork, get it into you, what are you talking about as far as effective dates?
Typically on the first, we set it up on the first of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make it cleaner for all the post-enrollment data. But yeah, it's typically effective the first of the month.
And I don't want to say anything, but is this similar to Aflac?
Get it all the time. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep. It's our biggest competitor. Yeah. We just don't have a duck. They pay north of $350 million a year for that duck.
Call me. I'll be up for listening.
We have another question over here I'm going to try to get to, but we have Evan Burden. We don't need a stinking duck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a great question. The reality is, your employees' staff would actually have to seek that out, figure it out themselves. Evan works on a group basis, typically much larger groups, but again, through PSMA Connect and make an exclusive offer to the members, he's got a network of people that will come out and educate your staff and get that going for you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the question is the disability, is it short-term or long-term?
Short-term.
Okay, and then does maternity leave included that?
It does.
And what is there so if you take this and you get pregnant in a month, is it going to cover it?
So that's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up. 9 months from when the policy starts 9 months has to lapse before the physical birth occurs in order for the maternity benefit to be covered.
So-
So even like, let's say you had to like go into the hospital and have the baby early for some ungodly reason, it wouldn't cover that.
If the baby was early and it was before the 9 months, it would not be covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's some other specifics that we can maybe talk about offline, because we want to make sure it's a unique way to have some level of a maternity program for your employees to leverage that short-term disability. But we really want to make sure everybody understands, because the last thing we want is people to be, throwing a curveball when that stuff's important. I bought a short-term disability plan for my wife through Colonial that we were able to use on both of our.
Well, it's the classic insurance issue, right? Is that, you're underwriting an event that could occur, not that what's known to occur. So you can't buy a property policy for a burning building. It's not going to get that covered because it's already a known. I would imagine there's a case to say I didn't know I was pregnant at the time, but that would be something to discuss later. Any other questions?
The simple answer to your question, if you were to become pregnant a month later, you're most likely going to be, 9 months is going to go by through the whole pregnancy. So you'd be covered. Exactly.
So we appreciate this, and we've kicked this off with two really important issues, really to help protect your staff, right? Avoid financial stress, avoid turnover. One thing we haven't talked about, even though it was part of Evan's title, was that staff turnover happens for a lot of different reasons. But a lot of feedback we get, it happens because a nurse gets offered $2 more an hour and gets benefits that they don't have at the current place of employment. So again, we're trying to provide solutions to things that are challenged to keep your practice more stable and more able to grow going forward. So are there any other questions for Evan at this point? If not, we're going to do a short 15-minute break, and we're going to kick it off with some financial solutions to help you grow your practice going forward. Thank you.